In this video, I'm going to show you a simple process you can use to sell anything to anyone. And the great thing is, this process works with any product or service. To demonstrate this, I will actually use one of the most common sales role play exercises, and that is the sell me this pen role play. When you ask most salespeople to sell me this pen, they typically will start out with something like, this is a high quality ballpoint pen. It uses black ink. It has a convenient click to open feature. It writes smoothly and glides on the paper. And it has a very large ink reservoir, so it will last you a very long time. Now, that is actually a nice way to describe what might be a very cheap disposable pen. But here's the problem with that approach. It's all about the product. And while it might feel logical to talk a lot about the product when you are a salesperson who is trying to sell a product, there are several big issues with that approach. First of all, it's an all about me approach. My product, my company, are you interested in buying what I'm selling? And when you speak like that, it immediately flags you as a salesperson who is trying to sell something. And that will immediately trigger guardedness from the prospect, which can often lead to objections, rejection, and resistance. And most importantly, when you first interact with a prospect, the prospect might not even be in buying mode for the product at that exact time, which means for you to talk primarily about the product, you are creating a mismatch between what you're wanting to talk about and where the prospect is mentally at that exact time. And so if we can agree that this might not be the most optimum approach, we can look at 7 changes that are very easy to implement that can make it much easier to sell anything to anybody. And the first change is to shift from being all about the product and make the interaction more about the prospect. And all you have to do to make that shift is to replace talking about the product with asking questions to learn more about the prospect. If we are trying to sell a pen, we could start out by asking, how much writing do you typically do? What type of writing do you do? What do you typically write with? Do you already have a pen you use? What kind of pen is it? How happy are you with it? These are what I call current state questions, designed to learn more about what the prospect is doing today, where your product or service fits. Asking good questions is key because not only will it help you to uncover a need for what you sell, but it also helps you to quickly identify prospects who are not a fit at all. And when you stop wasting time on those prospects, selling and becoming more effective will immediately become easier. And the next tip is to get prospects talking about the challenges they are having. And you don't want to get the prospect talking about all of their different challenges. You want to get them talking about the challenges and pain points that are specific to the area where your product or service fits. So instead of asking general questions like, what is your biggest challenge? Or what keeps you up at night? Ask questions that are aligned with the pain points your product or service helps to solve. Like, how do you feel about how your handwriting looks? How helpful would it be to write faster? How concerned are you about how much good quality pens cost? Now, I don't know if those are the perfect pain questions for selling a pen, because the pain questions depend on the pain points the product or service can help to solve. And the pain questions can change when you change the type of buyer you're trying to sell to. But asking these questions is going to provide extremely valuable information, because what you uncover can be used as a justification for closing the prospect on moving forward to the next step in the sales process. Or you might ask these questions and find out that the prospect does not have any challenges or pain points, and the prospect is doing pretty good in the area where you have something to sell. And this is also very helpful information because it can quickly tell you that the prospect is not a fit or does not need what you're trying to sell, and you can make the decision to move on and save the time you would have spent trying to sell to that prospect and move on to find better prospects to spend your valuable time with. The next key for how to sell anything to anyone is to shift from talking about the product and its features and focus more on the value the product delivers. For example, instead of talking about the type of tip the pen has, which is a feature of the product, you can talk more about how this type of pen helps you to improve your handwriting and penmanship. The product and features are important, but what is really important and helpful to building interest is focusing on the end result and improvements the product can provide to the prospect, and this is really what they care most about. The next tip is to use customer examples as a shortcut to explain what you are selling and establish credibility. You can turn customer examples into short stories and then use those short stories at key moments when you are communicating with prospects. Another key that can help you to sell anything is to use the sales takeaway. The sales takeaway is basically expressing a little bit of doubt whether the prospect is the right fit for what you're trying to sell. For example, at key moments, you could say something like, "But I'm not sure if you'd be a good fit or not with what we do," or "I'm not sure if we can help you in the same way or not." The sales takeaway is almost a cheat code because it's very effective and quick at building interest, building rapport, and establishing credibility. And the reason why it's so effective is that expressing doubt is the exact opposite of what most salespeople do. And when you do the opposite, you instantly become more likable and trustworthy. And the last key for how to sell anything is to deflect objections. When you are not able to close a prospect on moving forward to the next step of the sales process, at that exact moment, you are likely facing some sort of sales objection, such as, "I'm not interested. We already used someone for that. We're not making any changes. We don't have any budget." These objections can be difficult to overcome. But here's the trick. Instead of trying to resolve the objection, just deflect it to stay in the game and keep the conversation going so that you can stay alive and have another opportunity later to close the prospect to move forward. And all you have to do to deflect the objection is to ask one of the questions that you would have created from the previous tips. For example, if the prospect responds with an objection like, "I already have a pen, I'm not interested," you can deflect that objection and keep the conversation going by saying something like, "Oh, great. What kind of pen are you using? What type of writing do you typically do? How much time do you spend writing? How do you feel about how your handwriting looks? When was the last time you looked at possibly making a change with the type of pen that you use?" These questions not only keep you in the game and keep the prospect talking, but they're very likely to help you to uncover new information. And depending what you learn, that information could be a reason to talk more, and you can use that to go back to the close and try to close the prospect on moving forward to the next step of your sales process. And if you like these tips and want to try to implement some of this for yourself, there are some very clear things that you can do next. First, you probably want to create a list of good questions to ask. And along with that, you also probably want to brainstorm the benefits and improvements your product or service helps to deliver. And as you're doing that, you probably also want to create a list of pain points or challenges your product or service can help the prospect to make go away or avoid. Now, we actually have a step-by-step sales message brainstorming process that will help you to create an optimum set of things to say and ask for your product or service. Actually, each of these steps creates what we would call building blocks, and you can then mix and match those building blocks to create a variety of different sales scripts, email messages, voicemail messages, objection responses, and more. And if you're looking at this and thinking, I don't know if I can go through this for the product or service I sell, or if you're thinking I don't have the time or energy to go through this process, the really cool thing is we actually have built this process into our software of Sales Scripter. Our software aligns with this step-by-step sales message brainstorming process, and we've integrated with AI, ChatGPT specifically, to where all you have to do is enter the product or service you sell and specify the target audience you're communicating with or the audience you are trying to sell to and send emails to. And then the software will use ChatGPT to do all of the copywriting in just a matter of seconds to create an optimum set of features, ways that you might be different, benefits you can deliver, pain points you help to solve, pain questions, current state questions. These sets of bullet points are your building blocks, and the software will basically mix and match those building blocks to give you a whole sales playbook of sales scripts, email templates, voicemail scripts, objection responses, and more. And so hopefully there's a tip or two in there that can give you some new ideas of how to improve your efforts. If you have questions or you want more information, the best place to go is salescripter.com. Thanks for being here. Hope this was helpful, and we look forward to seeing you on the next video. Have a great day. Take care. Bye.